evening, everybody. It's 8 o'clock, and welcome to today's episode of Marvelous Medicine. We are likely to have a lot of people who are logging in for the first time. So I'll just minutes. Marvelous Medicine is a part of the program of the Facebook group called Learning General Surgery, which Dr. Pattarada Krishna, who's a surgical gastroenterologist, started more than 10 years ago. Marvelous Medicine itself started during COVID, and I am Dr. Vidya Mohanram, anesthetist at Chennai. And between Dr. Radhakrishna and me, we have managed to keep this program going for more than 4 years, and we are going to be doing our 225th episode, I think, today. And we try to bring all disciplines together, and all the talks are usually pitched at doctors from all specialties, even when it's being about cutting edge technology. So I've actually requested Radhakrishna to guide the discussion today towards pedagogy, because usually we try to do a session on pedagogy on the second Thursday of every month. Over to you, Radhakrishna, and thank you, Dr. Adarsh, for sparing the time, and thank you, Dr. Nandi, for your kind words and your frequent appearances, which liven up the discussion in Marvelous Medicine. Over to you, Radhakrishna.
It's a pleasure, privilege, I should say, to be talking to Dr. Adarsh in front of Dr. Nandi. And, actually, whenever I recorded interviews, I was never sort of tense or whatever. Because I think about 10 years ago, when there was a GA surgery conference IASG conference in Delhi, I saw Dr. Adarsh just walking by. I said, come, we'll do a recording. I just pulled him. I didn't and we did a recording, it was extempore, and it's a huge hit among postgraduates across India. And the spontaneous replies are, just too much. Of course, we recorded an interview with Dr. Nandi on the same occasion. Having said that, when I said I'm going to interview again, the others got a bit worried. He said, we should prepare. Likewise, I also did some preparation to today's session. Dr. Adarsh is the chairman of surgical disciplines at Medanta. He's got many, many hats to wear. And as you go through conversation, you understand each one of them. And, the first time I saw him is about 30 years ago when I was under Dr. Nandi. Dr. Adarsh used to walk into BB Dixit library every day to read. I think it was in GB Pant at that point of time. And I wondered how sincere this gentleman, and I never knew that he'll be such a huge personality in GA surgery in India. Welcome, sir. Yeah, actually,
Thank you very much.
I have, Vidya said it's all about pedagogy, so I shouldn't diverge. Now, I'll start off with first very straight question, because these interviews are recorded and they're for, posterity. A lot of students go through these again and again, and many of them working will, at a later date, these are available in the YouTube in a channel called Learning General Surgery. Now, Dr. Adarsh, can you describe your surgical training journey? What paths did you take to become a surgeon?
I started my surgical training from PGI Chandigarh, where I joined as a house surgeon in July 1978. And those days in PGI, the entry was 2 point. First, you had to take an exam to become a house surgeon, and then to get into the MS surgery, you had to appear for another exam. So there used to be 8 house surgeons, but the MS seats were 4. So 4 of us had to be excluded. So I did my house job and then did my 2 years of I did my MS from PGI, and then I was a senior resident in PGI for 3 years. Then I joined GB Pant Hospital, where I was for 17 years. I started the Department of GI Surgery, and then I was in Gangaram for 7 years. And since 2010, I've been in Medanta Medicity in the Department of GI Surgery.
What are some of the most challenging aspects of your residency?
The challenging aspect of residency in PGI is very difficult. Uh, I came from a small town, Shimla, and to me, suddenly going into such a big hospital was very daunting. There was no concept of ops. You had to be physically very strong. Emotionally, you had to be blunted because, those days senior surgeons could say anything to you. And there was always a threat that I might not get into the MS surgery. When I got into the MS surgery, I realized that academics was very important in PGI. So you had to study hard. It was a very busy department. But eventually, I realized that if you're surrounded by excellence, the system itself automatically lifts you up. That's my biggest learning from that time, that if you surround yourself with the right kind of people, it changes your mindset also. Most discussions in PGI are learned, be it in dinner table, be it in the bathroom, be it in the corridors, was always about the patients and the academics. And that's when I realized that talking about ideas, concepts is much better than talking about individuals and people. So that was kind of a life changing experience for me to be in PGI. Also, you have asked me challenging, but I'm telling you the good things also about. If you see the painting of Raphael in Vatican, it's called School of Athens. Many of you know that painting. It's a fictional account of all Greek philosophers in one painting. And when I look at that painting, I think of PGI of those days. There were such great people, such illustrious teachers who could absolutely change your life. So I consider myself very fortunate to be associated with people who had such conceptual breadth. They had, they're very humble, and their knowledge was infinite. So I was very fortunate in that context.
So did you have some mentors or who are the ones who influenced your career as you went by?
There were people who, it's very difficult to say one person because each person had their qualities. I very vividly remember my teacher, Dr. N.M. Gupta, who was such a humble man despite being a very good surgeon. I was very touched by his humility. I remember Dr. J.D. Wig, who had infinite capacity to work hard. You call him any time of day and night. I remember Dr. Bose, no matter what used to go wrong with the patient, he'll always remain cool. I've never seen a surgeon in my life all over the world with technical skills as good as Dr. Kataria. I'm telling you, I have never seen a surgeon of his technical skills. Apart from that, there used to be a pathologist like Dr. Ikut who could look at a slide and tell that this patient would have an enlarged liver, he would got an enlarged spleen, he could go backwards. There were wizards like Dr. C. Balakrishnan from plastic surgery, Dr. C.P. Sani. So each one of them taught so many things to me. The first thing I learned was that it's so important to be value strong, not only being skill strong. PGI was that way a big learning experience for me. Those surgeons never made big money. They used to come on Sunday on scooters to see their patients. So they influenced my life in so many ways. You know, we are not short of time.
Not at all.
You know, there's a fable which says that once Lord Buddha told one of his disciples that let's go and preach today. So the disciples went with him, and they all the day they were walking in the village. He didn't preach a thing. When evening they came back, the disciples asked Lord Buddha, what did we teach? We didn't teach anything. He said, as we walk, we teach. The way he walked, the way he carried himself, that itself is a teaching. And that was absolutely true when I was in PGI. I heard people who were so articulate, so erudite, the way they used to speak. You could understand their intellectual humility, the ability that you could disagree with them, they will never hold it against them. So collectively, people influenced me.
Now, actually, you had so many, or I should say, too many stalwarts in your career.
That's right. That's right. I was very fortunate. I've been very fortunate that way. I've been always been surrounded by people who are positive, who are interesting. And I'm very lucky. Even if I travel by air, 70% of times the person who sits next to me teaches me something. So that way I'm very fortunate.
How was your experience with Dr. Nandi? How did he influence you?
Okay, I'll be very honest with. I had never worked with Dr. Nandi. I had only heard about Dr. Nandi, and since he's in the right now there, I will not say anything to please him. I'll be very honest with him. I'd heard a lot of things about Dr. Nandi, and fortunately, I was mature enough to understand that you should not believe what people say because judgments can be very biased by various things. When I joined Gangaram Hospital, that was in 2003, we were in two different units, but within 2 or 3 days, I realized his magnanimity. Dr. Nandi, I'm not praising in front of him. I don't know what a surgeon he is. I think I'm a better surgeon than he is, but he's a much better human being. He's big hearted, he has no agenda, and I'm absolutely envious of his energy. Dr. Nandi is a man on mission. We guys have speed, he has velocity. You understand the difference? Velocity is speed with intention. He is so positive. There is so much to learn from him as an individual. You can disagree with him, the class, intellectually. He never holds it against him. And I have immense respect for him. I never knew him before because unless you work with him, you don't realize. And those 7 years we had, I don't think we ever once had a problem with each other. We are in separate units, but it was like a team moving in synchrony. So I think Dr. Nandi is a great man. So much to learn from him.
Dr. Nandi is free to comment if he wants to. Yeah.
I can't comment. I should have walked out to the room.
That is magnanimity. Anyway, coming to the education part of it, Dr. Adarsh, how important is ongoing medical education for surgeons?
I do not know what you mean by ongoing education. I can only talk of education
Yeah.
because education never stops. Because one of the common mistakes we make is uh, we think that experience equals expertise. That's not true. That's not true. The problem with most of us as surgeons is that we believe that we are already there. That's not true. There are many surgeons, I don't want to name them. They're nowhere, nobody talks about them today. Why? Because they did not update themselves. Times change. Today, if I say that robotic surgery is useless, I'm stupid. So, ongoing education is an ever ongoing thing. You should keep educating yourself. Things change. The rules of yesterday, today, they are contraindications. When I was a student, I was told in acute pancreatitis, you should never operate. Now we think in necrosectomy, unless you don't intervene, nothing happens. So, education is absolutely uh, vital. We should change this concept in this country that surgery is not a technical exercise. I have a great, I feel very sad when conferences happen and only workshops, you only demonstrate operative surgery. I feel very sad on seeing that. We never discuss the investigations before that. We never discuss the CT scan. We never discuss why this procedure is being done. To my mind, we are doing great harm by making surgery as a circus of technical dexterity. Education is most important.
Now, how do you keep updated with the latest scientific advancements and surgical techniques? Do you
Okay,
devote time for that even at this part of
absolutely.
the juncture?
I absolutely devote time to it, and I'm say it in all humility because I've learned over years the only power I have is the power of knowledge. Rest, rest, everything is so transient. Things might change, and I've also realized that the quality of learning at least for surgeons I know does not depend on how much you read. The quality of knowledge comes from how curious you are. Curiosity is the biggest driver for information and knowledge. The problem with us is that we believe that because of the omnipresence of data, we understand things. The data exists, but what do we do to that data is what we need to learn. So I try my best to keep updated with the subjects in which I have an interest because I believe I'm a role model. If I say something, it should be backed with evidence, and what I should be saying should be reliable, and students can go and check and verify that what I tell is a fact. And when it's not a fact, I should tell them this is my personal bias. So, problem with us is that many times we assume answers. The worst thing we can do is when we deny the existence of ambiguity. If I do not know the answer to a question, I should be able to say, I don't know. Because most mistakes occur because we do not, we want to have a story to every question. So, the world, to put the world in a single model or a single nuance, fails to acknowledge the universality of uncertainty and complexity in surgical world. Do I make sense? That we
Yeah.
should constantly educate ourselves because there are so many contrary thoughts and theories. To say one operation fits everybody or one technique fits everybody is not correct.
Now, if I can ask you, do you consider yourself a successful surgeon?
Okay. My tragedy is that people think I'm successful, but I think I'm not successful. I don't think I'm successful. You might think why I'm not successful because I think I could have contributed much more than I have done. And what I have not done is my own fault because I have been very lucky that I've done so much surgery in my life that I should have given a greater scientific dimension to it. I should have contributed more to literature than I've done. So that's my biggest regret in life. And if you ask me, what is my biggest regret is I wish I had learned statistics and analysis of data. I feel so sad that I did not pay attention to it. If I had done that, I could have contributed much more to the world literature and possibly changed some degree of management of surgical patients.
So, in your opinion, what should be the personal attributes of a successful surgeon?
I am no authority on this, and neither do I have any illusory superiority to comment on this. But to say I'm nobody to decide, I don't have that attitude, but I essentially believe that a mediocre surgeon, also technically, who has empathy for his patient, who can spend time with the patient, is better than somebody who's an exceptionally good surgeon but is arrogant, is not available, does not spend time with the patient. So, my belief is that patients do not know what a great surgeon you are. Patients only know how much you care for them. That's my belief. It might sound idealistic, but I have myself been an average surgeon. When I was young, I was spending less time with patients. As I've grown, I've realized talking is not communication. Communication is different from talking. If you can talk to your patient, empathize with them, understand what they think, to my mind, that's a successful surgeon.
How do you maintain discipline in your work and in your training?
My discipline in my training comes from the fact that I consider I cannot tell a resident to come in time if I don't come in time. So I have to be a role model first in myself. So I come in time, I'm well read. Whenever there's a class, I always read because I have to know better than the boy who's presenting. So I make an effort to read. None of us have a data set in the mind. I'll remember everything. I make it a point to read before every class. So I don't know what discipline means, but I generally believe that people who come to study with us, they're educated, they understand, And if you yourself do well, most people will follow what you are doing. There are a few outliers. Then you have your own methods, which are slow and effective, and they give good results.
Your comment on hard work. Whenever I write about working hard, with Dr. Nandi very strongly used to believe that he used to say, I want donkeys. I don't want intelligent people. Although he always chosen intelligent people, but then he wanted people work very hard. But now the present generation questions this. Why should we work hard? Where is the need? Can't we be good surgeons without working hard?
First of all, the common impression of a donkey is wrong. You must read a book called Wisdom of the Donkeys. A donkey is a very philosophical animal. There's a lot to learn from a donkey. When a donkey walks, he or she is totally oblivious of surroundings. It has its focus. It walks straight. We unnecessarily surgeons want to hurry up things. When you operate, you should be oblivious of what you're doing. So this is what I'm saying. But about hard work, I believe you cannot quantitate hard work, but yes, to my mind, success is a combination of hard work, some degree of creativity, problem solving skills. But unfortunately, God is so unfair. People who are bright, intelligent, don't want to work hard. And the ones who work hard generally don't are not that bright. But when the combination is together, that's the best thing. So I think hard work is a necessary thing. And in surgery, you can't do anything without hard.
Now, the present situation is that the most of the resident staff complain that we don't have practical experience as far as surgery goes. So, how should the surgical trainees balance education and practical experience? How can they balance it, and how can you contribute to it?
Okay, when I went to PGI, and a lot of people told me even then that once you come out of PGI, you'll be a theoretical surgeon. You don't get much surgery in PGI. You won't don't get much cutting in PGI. But I'm saying something very provocative. If you see the surgical scene in India today, it's totally dominated by people from PGI. Why? The reason is because we have to teach our residents that technical is all right. You will learn it. If you do not learn how to take decisions, even the best surgery will not work. We have to teach our residents the ability to think. Surgery, of course, I'll come to that. Technical surgery is very important and it has to be a graded responsibility. But I believe very strongly that technical surgery can be taught. We must give graded responsibility to residents. And I'm very proud to say people who have trained with us are possibly one of the best surgeons all over the country because they do a lot of cutting, they do a lot of surgery. But more than that, we teach them how to think. You may do the best surgery in the wrong patient. It's not going to work. I always tell people the best anastomosis is not to do an anastomosis, right? We teach people in our department principles. You do a necrosectomy, you don't have to think. You will always put two drains. You will always do a tube jejunostomy. It's bad to be dogmatic, but sometimes you don't have to invent an operation on an operation table, right? You want to do that in a class. So I believe the balance has to be there. And I also believe another thing I'm going to say very, it might not sound nice, but the residents who are listening, they must understand that if I have two residents, one is a first year resident and one is a third year resident. The first year resident works hard. The third year resident doesn't work hard. I will give surgery to the first year resident, not to the third year resident. Surgery is not, it's earned. Just because you're senior doesn't mean something. I've had residents who make them do a hepaticojejunostomy. Next morning, you ask him, how much is the bile in the drain? If he says, I have not seen the patient, to me, this is disaster plus plus. Am I right? So you understand, you can pick up people. I have no great qualities. One of my greatest qualities, I'm a good judge of people. Whenever the MCH or DNB candidates come, I lay a bet with myself within 2 or 3 months of their working. Is this guy going to be successful or not? I'm right 99% times. Because there are people who look for shortcuts. You have a stoma, you have a difficult now you have stoma nurses when we were there. You have to the bag is not sticking. There's a resident who complains the bag doesn't stick. There's another resident who will find some contraption, some way, some trick to fix a bag. That separates, am I right? That separates the problem solvers for people who always have a problem. You have a group of residents who have a problem for every solution. You give them any solution, they have a problem. So we have residents who make a mistake during surgery. It's acceptable. It's acceptable. But not to learn from that mistake and not to feel bad about it, that's the worst.
I was had my initial training in units where the chief surgeon used to be always angry and throwing in some short tempered, raising his voice. Then I come to Dr. Nandi's unit and I never heard him raise his voice. I never really got him saw him getting angry and express it. Now this I see more often in the younger generation this sort of a behavior now. I mean, what is the ideal operation room etiquette according to you?
No, to me, why operation room? General etiquettes, I always have believed insecurity is allowed. If you're insecure, if you cannot, if a bleeding starts, what the point of shouting at everybody? You shout, you should tell yourself, I tell you what is my stance, what I've learned. You know there is nothing as bravery in this surgical field. There are only degrees of fear. So when a bleeding occurs, I want to shout, but I know if I shout, the sister gets nervous, my assistant gets nervous. You put a sponge and you tell everybody, look, we have a problem. We have a problem. And I deceive myself. I tell myself I'm the best surgeon. I have to do it myself. There is nobody else I can refer to. So you tell everybody. I also want to get angry, but I have realized anger and ego are two worst emotions for a surgeon. So you tell we have a problem, sister, arrange this, you do this, and we do this. So etiquette, why in the operation theater, even outside, shouting in anger, our senior surgeons those days, that was a fashion. That greater the surgeon, greater the anger. But now things have changed. I see no reason to get angry. We as such has enough stress. We should not cause more stress.
So, how important is uh, communication among the team members
Oh,
to maintain a professional atmosphere?
you see it's absolutely vital. You must have team members who disagree with you intellectually because contradictions, conflicts are springboards for innovation. If I say this patient needs surgery, I need somebody to tell me, no, we should not operate. Right? So, communication, everybody should be allowed to speak. I've seen departments where everybody is so scared that they don't speak. The moment boss goes out, there are so many hisses of awe, delight, saying something. That's bad because ultimately the hero in our operation theater is the patient. The patient's life is most important. There used to be a joke in my previous Gangaram in GV Pant hospital that when we were doing a lap cholecystectomy, even the sweeper had as he was cleaning the floor, he'll comment and say, this looks like bile duct. So the ability to say it makes a lot of sense. I mean, there is no ego if somebody helps. Some surgeons get very offended when somebody tells them that, oh, this is going to happen, it's bleeding. They feel bad. What's wrong about it? What's wrong about it? I mean, I believe communication is absolutely vital, and having an ego is absolutely futile. If you think you are the best surgeon in the world, you're mistaken. I had a very nice poster in my hostel when I was in PGI. Today I'm reminded of it. It was a big poster, and on it was written, no matter what you do in life, 10,000 billion Chinese don't give a shit. That's true. Who's bothered? So whom are you trying to prove your worth? Ultimately, the patient is the hero. So I believe commitment, ability to express positive dissent makes sense.
I go to Dr. Nandi's methodology where you have to mark yourself and your career. Like if you divide, I'll divide into four parts, each of 2.5. Now, when it comes to patient care, how many marks do you give for yourself?
I will not be able to comment on this. I'm not. I don't think I can judge. The problem with most of us is most of us think that we are the best. Most of us have this belief that I do the best. I will not be able to comment on that. So I don't think somebody else should answer this question. I'm not able. If you see the Google reviews, there are people who hate you, people who write bad things about you. I had a patient who came with a scan for a patient who got a gallbladder cancer. I looked at the scan and said nothing much can be done to this patient. He said, how the hell can you say that you can't do anything? We came from all that distance and you are putting us down. You are saying things. You should do something because there is definitely something can be done. How can you say? I said, it's spread to the liver. He said, you have broken our confidence and we are very disappointed with you. So now for that patient, I'm a terrible surgeon. I'm a terrible surgeon. I always say the example. We have an observer who comes to our operation theater and he tries to come very close to me as he watches the operation. I tell him, can you stay back a little bit? So he doesn't like me. So I may be a greater surgeon, but he says this guy is very rude. There's another consultant who's an average surgeon, but he takes him out for coffee and tea. He says, oh, he's a great guy. So what I'm saying is the impressions are so subjective and subjective. I have a great belief in something. To grade something, you must be able to measure it. I'm not saying that measurements are absolutely perfect, but I'm saying some degree of objectivity is a must. So my patient care, I can't measure. So I
I'll
can
ask
answer.
two individuals to come in here. Shiv wants to comment on your patient care. Shiv, if you can unmute and then
Who's
I'll
Shiv?
ask put. I just want to check that as well. I want to, and I want Puneet to come later. Shiv, can you comment? Oh yeah, Shiv
Hi,
Kumar Singh.
hello everyone. Yeah, I've just come from work. My chacha, that is my dad's younger brother, who I actually called father because I spent most my life with him during my schooling time. He was operated by Adarsh, and I remember the day very well because it was my son's birthday and I had to travel to Delhi in emergency. Right. I was with him throughout his post-op till he was discharged. Every day, others would come with a huge entourage. Not a single day did he speak to my chacha or to me, okay, on a patient. Okay, he talk about communication. I'm sorry to say this, Adarsh, but it was really, and I can tell you who I used to speak to, your second in command, Amandeep. Okay, because I came to know through him. So I think speaking openly and talking about communication now. But as a consultant anesthetist, I didn't say anyone who I was, but I used to observe everyone there. And I think there is a lot to be, said about the communication skills in bigger hospitals. I have mentioned about this without saying any names before, but since I was listening to you, I found it really my experience was really, really poor regarding care wise, fantastic surgery. Everything was good, excellent. He passed away 1.5 years after his surgery, but not a single day did anybody actually from the team actually spoke to me or to my chacha who was a scientist. He was a DRDO scientist who's worked with our President Kalam, a very intelligent man.
So I see that's what it is. So I was fair that we absolutely this is a good feedback. I'm very happy and I
Yeah.
absolutely take it in the right spirit.
Yeah.
and it should be a good lesson for us. I'm absolutely that's what I said. I may not be
Like,
able to judge myself. That's what I said. Makes
no,
no
that's
sense.
no, like you said. I'm sorry to say this, but like
No,
there was a huge entourage of people who used to come. I mean, there was this queue almost going outside the room. You would come and speak to the nurse, actually say what is the temperature, what is the output, what is this and all. But not a single time was the patient actually told. Nobody even told us, what the surgery was, how well it went. I had to actually speak to Amandeep. Amandeep was here. I don't know whether he's still there with you or not,
he's there,
but he was.
there.
Yeah, he
So,
was. I used to actually speak
so
to him.
Shiv, thanks for your
thanks.
Yeah,
frank opinion.
yeah,
Shiv was
Thank you.
a trainee from the All Indians when I was there, when Dr.
yeah.
Nandi was there. Puneet would like to come
Thank
in here.
So I think I'm already biased, so not the right person to speak. I mean, I think I've learned a lot from him. One is I think we just saw a demonstration of how to take criticism. I think I learned from him how to take criticism from a junior. There are lots of things, he would ask for feedback, and if I gave it, I don't think I've had that guts to give it to anybody. Funnily enough, both Dr. Nandi and Adarsh are here. I feel very comfortable giving feedback. These are probably the only two people that I felt, saying that no, it should be like this and all that, and they've listened to me. So I think Adarsh has always been like that. The biggest thing has been his sense of humor. So I think the patients sometimes misunderstand that. So that is a could be an issue. But the entire time that I was there in GB Pant, I don't remember a single day when I was not rolling on the floor laughing. He would be there before all of us, and like you said, the same is true for Dr. Nandi. I haven't worked with him otherwise, but I believe the class he's there first in the class. He used to, before the hospital was supposed to start, he would take a round with all of us, and we had to be there before them. And then he would still keep that 5 minutes to go to the coffee shop and make sure that he bonds one on one with each of the residents. So I mean, all of us are different types, and we all you want stereotypes in. So I think there's. I will not be a clone of him, obviously, but we. You asked about continuing surgical education. I think he typified it in government service. People used to look at vacations as a time to go and enjoy or whatever. Every single vacation, he would go to the best in the field. He went to, he said, I don't know, even something as anal as a fistula. He said, no, I'm going to go to Cleveland Clinic to Victor Fazio and learn that from him. He would go to Michel Gagne for lab. So I think that thing is one thing that I was extremely average, so before that. But I learned that everybody, we are all the same, but how to be better, and in a way that you have fun. That's the one thing I would say, that learning was fun when he was around. So there was never a day that we didn't have a thing. So a bit of the government hospital thing does, of course, go on because he's got a very busy clientele. So I don't suppose he can spend that much time. But even you'll laugh that even 6 months back I told him, you need to look at your Google reviews because only the bad guys come and give the comments like this here. But not, I mean, the people who've had bad experiences. Last 6 months, you see his Google reviews, every single one is 5 star. So I mean, if you have to learn how to improve, that's him. Thank you.
Coming to teaching and training, Dr. Adarsh, because of course Dr. Nandi is quite right when he says he's done 2.5 out of 2.5, and nobody has done more teaching than him. He's taught us the basics, not of just of surgery, of everything in life actually, how to be a good surgeon. Human surgeon. Where do you stand there, Dr. Adarsh? You should be able to comment on this. I don't want Puneet
What
to do that.
what is the question?
Question is, how much of a teaching and training have you done? Do you give yourself 2.5 out of 2.5?
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. You see, I failed in patient communication just like you wanted. But I think in teaching, I think if there's one thing, I think I'm very proud. I have never missed a class. I've been a very prolific teacher, and if there's one thing I want in life is my students. I'm very proud of that. I love teaching, and for me, I've learned mostly because I've been busy teaching. I give myself actually 5 out of 2.5 for teaching.
To stand on the opposite side of the table and teach surgery.
Oh yes, I have. Okay, I have not stood on the opposite side of the table very often, but I've always stood on the mostly on the back of the student to teach surgery. From the opposite side, no. From the back of the time, I have most often I will never leave a resident like that. Most of the times, it's supervised from the back.
So the next segment is research. Dr. Nandi gives himself less marks out of 2.5. He says he hasn't done much original research, which he should have. Where do you
I
stand?
I also believe that though I did publish, but I don't think I have done much research. I should have done much more research than I've done. And I think I'll give myself 1 out of 2.5. So I published a lot. I have, but I believe I should have done better.
But one is too small a mark. Puneet, would you come here?
I think both. I think both teaching wise, I was a resident in GB Pant, and if I was assisting for too many days, he would make sure that even Lap Kohli had just come in and he hadn't done that many, but he would make sure that he stands on the opposite side and makes you do it. So I guess with time we do become it does become hierarchical and the next generation teaches much more, but I think he's been very good as far as teaching goes. If you ask him a question, he always has multiple, he makes you think. That's a very important thing. Everybody's seen his orations where he makes the whole hall think. But I think personally that's been fantastic. Research wise, I think I really I had my entire gamut of publications started, and the best quality publications started from GB Pant only, because he would make you go through the data, think differently. So I think that it's not a true teacher is one who can make somebody else think, and the ripple starts from there. So I think that's a very important message I'd like to say, that for people, it's very easy to criticize only. We constantly have arguments. Even last weekend we had a argument about we have different approach, like you said, about the toxicity in a department. I believe it depends on a lot of us, but we have such a healthy argument. Even now, he listens to me, I listen to him. So I think that's something to learn, that and I know that he would have thought about it on the way back home, and I know he would have changed a little bit. So that confidence also I have, I have the
I
guts to
did
say.
I did call you back after that, and I
Yes,
said that.
yes.
I did said that.
I'll invite Dr. Nandi to come in here, because he can, after making his comments, he can spend time with his grandson. Dr. Nandi.
I feel sad that, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I feel sad about meeting Adarsh after so long, because my association with him in Gangaram was one of the high points of my career. And I think that at that time we had a group which consisted of Subhash Gupta, Abhi Soin, Adarsh Choudhury, Vinay Kumaran. And I think at that time we were among the best in the world in terms of um, quality and quantity. And also, we also did start off the after initial great failures, the liver transplant program, which was the first, I think, running program in the whole of India. And I think that I must thank Adarsh and all these others for giving me such a high point in my career. I'm full of gratitude.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I'll invite Dr. Girijadhat Sharma, a great friend of ours, to come in and give his comments on the
He's my
whole
guru.
talk.
He's more my guru than my what am I guru?
GD, sir,
Yeah, good evening. Good evening.
we can't see you, sir.
Where you are there? I can't see him.
You can put a camera on if you can.
He's
So,
in,
I have a long association. While we used to present, I used to present in young surgeons from Ludhiana, and he used to present from Chandigarh. And subsequent, I found him excellent surgeon and always helpful whenever I had a problem. and I could call him up at 2 a.m. to ask, this is the finding. What do you think should be the best choice? He has been my distant teacher throughout. I've learned a lot of things from him, a lot of it. And so glad that.
Actually, I have learned more from you. I have
No,
learned
no.
more from you. I've learned more about life from you than from anybody. I think you have been my teacher also.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for kind words.
That
Okay.
Ajay Sharma, your hand is up for a while now. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Pata and Dr. Chaudhary, for me to really make some comment. I must say I've never worked with Dr. Chaudhary, but I've heard so much about him, and I wish I could have worked with somebody like him. But having said that, I've worked with many of the people who really carry the great legacy of some of these greats from PGI. And one of them, as he would know, Alfred Augustine, the Dean of Apollo, and many others. And that's what Alfred says, that like following the examples of people like Dr. Vig and Professor Kataria, we have got many generations of surgeons who are carrying the same tradition, even if we may not really know them directly. And one example I would just give quickly is that, for example, in every course where we do, like, for example, basic surgical course or critical care course, I quote the example of one of the MDTs in PGI, where I worked as assistant professor for 3 years, but though treated myself as a registrar. If somebody would have a leak, a post-op, so Professor Katai would say, did you tie the corner sutures or not before completing the anastomosis? Because he says if you really tied, you can't see the juxta corner sutures well. And that's what many of his aphorisms I would really quote everywhere. Another would be, he would remember, like, patients don't die just like that. We just stop seeing them on a regular basis. So I'm just really mesmerized by what Dr. Adarsh Chaudhary is saying, and I would really am making notes of it. And it is amazing to see such great examples. Thanks, Dr. Pata, for bringing him on this forum. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Ajay. Dr. Govardhan, can you unmute, please?
Good evening, everybody, and good evening, Adarsh. How are you? I
I'm good, thank
really
you.
mesmerized by the way you speak. I feel envious.
You
Uh,
you've been my neighbor in the hostel, so
my association with Dr. Adarsh is I used to be an anesthetist and he used to be a surgeon. And two things he said about what it's not only the skills which we learned there, it's why we are doing this, why we should not do, can we do without it. These are the things which we used to discuss, and I think, and I owe one special thing to him. Once I was asked to go to the morbidity meeting by my faculty, and I was little pissed out. I talked to others. I said, "What?" And he gave me lots of tricks how to go about that, how to present the evidence from the literature. Though I did not come up to his expectations, but I learned how to be present your case, both in defense as well as for the teaching of the others, the literature reviewing that. So thank you, Adarsh, for that initial things.
oh, you are a
And
genius. You are such an accomplished man. So coming from you, it means so much to me. Very few people know that possibly the highest published anesthesiologist from the country is saying that. So it means a lot to me.
thank you. And one thing I just want to add, which probably you missed, I think the lot of theory, a lot of scientific analysis of our things. I used to learn from another surgeon, which probably you missed out of that was the Dr. S.K. Khanna. I think I learned so many things from him. The way
Oh,
we learn from each
absolutely.
other. You
Absolutely.
know, when he comes in the morning for the rounds and he will count. Oh, Dr. Puri, this is renal failure, and I cannot forget that. He says, do not give fluid more than 30 mils plus the output. People today, even they do not realize what this means, but those are the things by the bedside, the people, your surgeons of your time, used to tell us and teach us. Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to share my experience.
Absolutely. I'm sorry I couldn't name everybody. Dr. Khanna taught us the value of physiology in surgery. He was a man with exceptional talents, and his knowledge about surgical wisdom is unparalleled. Absolutely unparalleled.
Yeah, there's certain iPhone who wanted to speak. Can you please unmute and speak, please?
Hi, Pata. Can you see me?
Dr. Shekhar, welcome, sir.
Hi, Adarsh. I don't
Oh,
know whether you
Shekhar.
remember.
Oh my God. What a surprise. My registrar, I was his houseman. Mhm.
See, Adarsh was my resident, and I was the registrar in Dr. Kataria's and Khanna's unit. I know our unit 3 in PGI. It was like we used to do a Saturday and Sunday duty.
It was a
So,
concentration camp.
yeah, it used to start on Saturday morning, then Sunday, and Monday would be a theater day. So we would be in the hospital for nearly 3 days. And actually, as a registrar and resident, we had such a wonderful time. And we were going mad doing all surgery. I mean, fortunately, all the entire group was very dedicated.
I think we lost Dr. Shekhar somewhere. Dr. Anjali Davle, she's got a very pertinent question. Would you unmute and come in, Anjali? You there?
Yes, sir. Good evening, everybody. I have been a very fan following of Dr. Adarsh Choudhury, and since I have in person listened his three orations, and
Yeah,
one was at his own institute 3 years back under the colorectal conference. And even though I am not a direct student of him, but I always love the philosophical language of this person and the body language also. The only positive thing which I see as what I see as a encouraging personality amongst you is he always wears a apron in the institute, and which has a name, that is one. Secondly, to whom so he will be communicating with either the student or his colleague, he will always be a silent, very calm, and that is what I have observed. Dr. Praveen Bhatia always shares, recently in the ISPBA conference, the training for the 2025 ISPBA, the training and setbacks of ISPBA. He recently shared Dr. Adarsh Chaudhury's keynote address. And I love the philosophy, sir. Really, hats off to you. My question is, sir, as a surgeon, sometimes in lifetime you get an opportunity that your blood relative, immediate blood relative, comes to you for a lap cholecystectomy or hernia or any other surgery which you are operating with. In such situations, what should be the role or approach of a primary surgeon? Whether you should be taking that opportunity, whether you should be a assistant surgeon, or whether you should be a good observer, as somebody recently said. So I always analyze it, but I could not get the good answer, sir. And you are the best person, I think.
No, I am not the best person because there is no scientific answer to this. I'll tell you what my feeling is. If my blood relative is getting operated, I will be nowhere near the operation theater. I will be outside. That's my belief. I mean, I may be right or wrong, but I want to give the free hand to a surgeon and not be around because we get cramped when somebody else is watching. So I will not be around. I don't know what other surgeons feel, but I don't feel safe about it.
Thank you.
We'll go
Thank
back
you.
to Dr. Shekhar. Can you unmute, sir? Because we lost you a while.
suddenly it went off.
Yeah.
It's okay
You
now?
can continue what you're saying and can also
Yeah,
comment
yeah.
on
See,
operating on relatives.
yeah. See, we had such a wonderful time because our students were all very dedicated, and it was since it was a PG institute, there are no undergraduates, so everything has to be done, and it was like a slave driving. And some of the bosses were very very tough, like Dr. B.L. Talwar. There are people have left the course and gone because it was very tough. So we had two contrasting surgeons. Dr. Kataria was flamboyant and extremely good. In fact, I also must admit that all my surgical skills is what I learned from Kataria. whereas Khanna was extremely meticulous, a little bit slow, and is much more academic, like Adarsh was telling. So very well. So he used to do all the oncology work and vascular work, and Kataria used to do all the GI work and endocrine work. So practically our unit, we covered everything. So I thought our unit had the most wonderful training. I think, what do you say, Adarsh?
Absolutely. I'm talking to Shekhar after many years. I have a very he was a great surgeon. Everything. The only regret I have with him is once he took me to watch a movie called Enter the Dragon with
Come on,
Bruce Lee.
you can't be saying that again and again.
he had he had seen the movie twice, thrice. He didn't let me see the movie. He kept telling me, "Look at the next scene. Look at the next scene." All the movie he spoiled holding my hand. Just wait, now I see how he kicks. So the whole movie, I was his resident. I couldn't say anything to him. He was his senior registrar. So he took me very fondly, but he didn't let me enjoy the movie. So I still hold that against you.
But
As you
we did bring about a lot of change in PGI.
Yes.
That we made sure the residents or the number of operations they have to do. Myself and Shastri were together.
I said openly, my first resection in anastomosis was given to me by Dr. Shekhar. So I first resection anastomosis you made me do in emergency.
Yeah. So we made sure that all the residents did at least the basic minimum work, and made sure everybody assisted. And we kind of streamlined the teaching in the PGI. I'm very happy that Adarsh has grown to such a great height. It's always wonderful to see somebody whom you have known as a young boy, and he has grown so much and he's done so much of accolades. And all the best to you, Adarsh.
Thank you. What a pleasure talking to you. What a
Sir
pleasure.
Shekhar, sir, you are no less in your field, and as Dr. Adarsh rightly says, PGI rules the country. I mean, Chennai, you know, he is my teacher as well. Dr. Adarsh, there's another question in making of a surgeon: how to cope with surgical failures and how to face relatives, by Dr. Suraj Prabhudesai.
I do not fully understand the question, but I get the gist of it.
He says, how do you cope with surgical failures?
You feel depressed. I mean, to say somebody that he doesn't feel bad, you're overdosed with illusion. Every week I go through it. Every time you think you are a great surgeon, you come to the ground. It's very depressing. It's very frustrating. But such is life. We have chosen to ride this juggernaut of emotions. You just see one of the attendants just told me that I'm useless. So we are supposed to tolerate all these things. This is part of our lives. The only thing is to learn from these things. These days, it's a lot of problem. I understand with relatives. They get very angry. They get very agitated. The only solution I have found, it is not always effective, is to talk to relatives before surgery and continuously keep talking. You should talk more to a patient who has got a complication. The normal human tendency is when a complication occurs, we want to avoid that patient because it's so difficult to face them. But the only safety is the ability to constantly keep talking with them. Whenever you see fights of the patient's attendant, their biggest regret is nobody informed us, nobody told us. I think it's difficult, it's not easy, it shakes your confidence, they're agitated, but you have no choice. This is the choice. This is the choice we have to make. It's a tough one, but that's the only thing that saves us.
Thank you. Nala, you had a question. Can you unmute and ask it? Nala, sir.
Yeah. No, I was just, I am always on the anti-gang. I consider surgeon as a surgeon and anesthetist as an anesthetist. We work as a team. So I don't give too much credit to the surgeon, and nor do I take too much of credit to myself. But I just want to share that, whenever there is a problem, this is what I felt in my at least 25 years of experience. The surgeon generally say, oh, the anesthetist did something and it happened like that. He may say the blood pressure went
That's
out.
very bad. No, not never. That's so bad.
So how often do you compliment your anesthetist, and do you take your anesthetist with you for your surgical rounds before you do start the day? Because that was the norm when I was in India.
Okay. The answer to this question is I am very openly and publicly saying that my triumph is less. It is basically my anesthetist, who's such a great team that they cover all our mistakes. We do lot of goof ups. We can do only this complicated surgery because of our anesthesia team. You cannot do major surgery unless you have fantastic anesthetists. It's impossible. Our anesthetists have never rejected a patient. So I think a surgeon who does not recognize the importance of an anesthetist is not only stupid, but he's a very poor surgeon. Regarding your rounds, all our anesthetists do not come with us in the round, but they join us in the morning because one of them has come for a pain round. So when they're taking the pain round, because they put the IVPCA and all that thing, so they by default are come with us for the round, but formal round they do not come because they have less time and they don't have to see all patients. So serious patients, yes, ICU patients, yes, and many patients on the first and second post-operative day they are with us. I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank
The
you.
Maharajan Narayanan has got an interesting question. If you can unmute and ask the Maharajan. Yeah, I'll read out his question.
Yeah.
Safety of anesthesia has attained sigma level, but the surgical complications still happen often. As a surgeon, what is your advice to junior resident to improve the surgical patient safety?
I think it's better to learn safety rules not by accident. You don't have to make. I find this very wrong argument that on the learning curve. Why should any patient be on the learning curve? I think the surgery should be done by a graded responsibility, and safety is paramount. So I really do not know that there are what do's and don'ts, but basically there are some things, some rules you teach your residents that you should never do this. Like for a simple example I give, in last 14 years of our stay in Medanta, we do not have a single bile duct injury. Why? Not because we are great surgeons, but because there are certain rules we follow. One of the rules is if you cannot see clearly, don't persist with laparoscopy, convert to open. Our conversion rate may be more than others. Second, we have a belief that a cystic duct does not take a big clip. If you take a big clip, it's not a cystic duct. Third, the most important thing we've told everybody is there are no anomalies in the Calloch triangle. Because most mistakes are made that you say, I saw an accessory duct. Our dictum is when in doubt, it's a common bile duct. So when you establish some rules, if we feel that patient is not fit, bowel is edematous, something wrong, don't do an anastomosis. Just do a stoma. So there are some things when you do, but despite all these complications will occur. The difference between a good unit and a bad unit is complications occur in all units, but in a good unit they are recognized early and a preventive procedure is done.
Before I hand over to Vidya, my last question would be, do you remember when you wrote your first paper? What was the struggle you went through, and and what is it now? How easily or how frequently you write papers?
Okay, I have always been writing papers. I still write papers. Most of the colleagues who are with me when I was in GB Pant, we used to compete with SGPGI and AIMS. So I left GB Pant. I came to Gangaram. I continue to write. I am in Medanta. I continue to write papers. One of our papers has been published last week. I've always been writing papers because to me it is some sort of an intellectual challenge for me. The first paper I wrote was a gifted authorship to me by Dr. J.D. Wigg. It was called Duplication of Left Colon in British Journal of Surgery. I did nothing in that paper. I merely assisted him. But subsequently, I wrote in PGI, we had a great culture of writing papers. There used to be a kind of a race, and that's what the atmosphere does to you. So when I appeared for my assistant professor post in the UPSC, I had 34 publications, 9 of them in British Journal of Surgery. How is it that I could not have been selected? So I've always been writing papers. I still write papers, and I'll continue to write papers.
Can I invite Dr. Piyush to unmute and come in here? The Piyush Sani.
Is he around?
He is concentrating elsewhere. Vidya, please take over.
So there's another question that Nalla didn't choose to ask you, but it kind of I also think about this every day. What is your take on senior surgeons continuing to operate without handing over the baton to the next generation? So he's asking, in private sector, these cult figures will always be kept in the hospital, but the newer generation needs to learn and grow. So how do you have a suggestion to how to address this problem?
I will not be able to address the suggestion because I have no plans to give up in the near future. So it's very easy for us to devise rules for somebody else, and for ourselves they are different. So I believe this voice has to come from inside. If I think I'm competent, good enough, and I look after the interest of my juniors, I think it's very difficult to answer this question. I think so. We all have our own take, so I will not be able to answer this question to his
You,
satisfaction.
you can't be a Dhoni. You can't be a Dhoni always. Sometimes you have to hang up.
I agree with you. When you hang up, I will hang up.
No, we I've retired at 60.
I'll tell you something funny. When I joined Gangaram, I asked somebody, "When do you retire?" So one guy came close and hissed in my ear, "Here, either you are tired or expired. You don't retire. You don't retire." But I think you are right. People who have some other interest in life, they will retire. If you have nothing else to do, you will persist in surgery. I have some other
That's
interests which I will carry on, so I'll retire in the near future.
that's true. That's the point.
Prashant Bhangul wants to know, Dr. Choudhury would love to hear from you. What, according to you, is the future of surgery in this country? In the sense, youngsters wanting to take up the specialty, what would you like to say to them?
Prashant works with me, and I think in the hands of competent surgeons like him, he's so academic, such a good surgeon, the future of India at least is very bright. When youngsters like him dedicate themselves to science, he's a fantastic surgeon, academician, researcher. He brings good name to the country. When he encourages more people like him, I think future of surgery in India is very bright.
Thank you for that optimistic. Dr. Piyush, are you ready to speak now?
Yeah, I can speak, but
Yes.
you can't speak when Adarsh is speaking, so that's not allowed.
I'm quiet. I'm shut up. I'm quiet.
How can you do that? You can't do that.
I've done it.
I've never had the pleasure of being a colleague of Adarsh's in the same department, in the same unit, but I have had the pleasure of sitting on flights across the aisle and having a chat with him over an hour and a half. Great, insightful comments. Always made me wonder, why did people not say this before? Why is he the first one to say this to me? Uh, I had also the opportunity of working together, running a professional society with him, and it was a fantastic experience. He was the president, I was the secretary, and whenever I messed up, he'd always come up with some words of encouragement to say everything was all right and we do fine. I also had the opportunity of teaching with him, sessions which we did for our MCH and DNB students. And again, an experience which was very, very enlightening to me. Uh, Times when I thought, well, I should have thought of that. And why didn't I? So, he's a great guy. There's no doubt about that. And fantastic. I've just enjoyed the session today, listening to him. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Piyush. Most of the comments on the chat box are just people have loved listening to you, Dr. Adarsh. Those who didn't have the opportunity to interact with you before, either one on one or listen to your orations, they've had an opportunity to listen to you today, and you know there are lots of positive feedback about that. And Dr. GDS, would you like to add anything at this point?
You unmute,
No,
sir.
no, I think everything good has been said. It completes the discussion.
If anything
He
bad you
always
got to
gives
say,
a
you
very
can,
complete
sir.
lecture. That's nice.
Is Pradeep Rebala here? I see a name Pradeep there. In case if you're there, please unmute Pradeep.
Yeah, Pradeep Rabela is another great person I know. So
I don't know whether it's the same Pradeep. I really don't.
Yeah, not really sure.
No, he writes his full name normally on Zoom.
Right. Okay. Okay. You got to add something, Punit?
It's difficult to get the last word with Dr. Adarsh anyway, but he does manage to get to you and say that okay, maybe you were right after that. So I've had the continuous pleasure of being with him. So the age differences are not too much. In fact, sometimes I feel it's probably shrunk even more as time goes by because he doesn't look aged at all. But that's one thing. Another thing to learn from him for the younger surgeons, I think, is fitness levels. So I realize this as
Before you continue, Pradeep, I like to share a quote from one of his friends, which he shared with me, that he used to do 1,000 push-ups and dumbbells and do 20 cases without doing electrolytes, and that's how you become a great surgeon. Yeah.
So exactly. So I think, like he was saying, that people who are lazy don't work hard and all that, and all the jocks don't have the brain. So he's one example of brains and bronze. So and I'm telling you this after doing one week of gymming. I think for all surgeons, that's one thing to learn from him is how to stay fit, because I think the stamina you maintain in the theater is extremely important. As I age now, I realize it's very difficult for me to do a full surgery for the full time, especially when we don't have juniors at a particular time. So I think it's very, very important to learn that from him, is how to do fitness. That's extremely important as a part of your life, not just as not just to build your biceps, but as a fitness. And I think that's I'm now realizing that probably the endorphins and all also help you in the brain thing. So like he said about people who work hard, I've got several examples of people. There's a lot of jokes about I'm a lazy guy. He used to make fun of me a lot. So they say, give a lazy guy a job to do, he finds the most energy efficient way of doing it. So likewise, I think it's the combination of hard work and this thing. There's in surgery, it's amazing the number of people who have that, and I think we must encourage them. A lot of people as students are not very good. They're not very, the smarter guys get ahead. That's the argument we had last week. They get ahead. They know how to have the keys to the person, the senior. So they know all those things. So I think we need to train the others also how to get those keys. So that's one another message I would like to give.
The
Thanks.
Piyush Maniam, you want to say something? Yeah, and Dr. Adarsh has gone much into philosophical talks now for the last couple of years. What we hear is only philosophy of the surgeon. Does that mean that that's a career, a change in career perspective?
no, I think I still operate as I used to do earlier, but I've realized uh, making more mistakes and learning that is essential to incorporate some philosophy into your life, because I've realized that by extra medical reading has made me a better person than I used to be. So there is so much to improve. So I believe the earlier you incorporate some degree of wisdom into your day-to-day life, life becomes better.
If I can ask you some very sensitive questions,
Ask me.
as a family man, how many marks would you give yourself out of 10?
5.
I'll give him 4.
I didn't expect this actually. Can you say why? Or
I think in the early part of my career when I was in GB Pant, I was too stuck on to prove myself. There were circumstances which I need not discuss here in the department that took a lot of my time and my energy. Puneet will know there's no point in articulating them here. So I had a lot of struggle during my stay there, and that took my life. So I did not spend as much time with my daughter as I should have spent. And I regret not having spent as much time with my mother also, because I regret that. So I wish I could spend more time with my mother and all the people who are young in the audience. This is a message I want to give it to you. Please spend time with your parents. I live with this regret that I did not spend much time with my mother. So you should spend time with your parents. They are very proud of what you achieve. They've done a lot of sacrifices for you. Please spend time, make it a point to call them every day, even just to say hello. So to me, they are the most important people, and that's my biggest regret that I did not spend much time with my mother as I should have.
One more sincere comment from my side, sir. Whichever keynote addresses I have listened of you, recently turning back and coping with failures in ISPBA Calcutta and even in the Maharashtra chapter, resection anastomosis and how to handle the leak. That was, and many orations which were arranged by the LGS forum by Dr. Patta sir and many more on this. You have always advocated the books for the reading, which makes you think philosophical. So, what are your most five books which every surgeon or please, sir, because that doesn't complete your whatever talk.
What you should do is you should personally talk to me because my list keep changing. So I have a next talk. I have a next talk coming up in May where I talk of 5 more books. So keep in touch with me and I'll send you a lot of books.
Okay.
So you can share today's list, sir. You can share today's list.
Beg your pardon? Today's list.
Share today's list.
Okay, offhand, I can tell you a couple of books. I think one of the books we must read is a book called The Extended Mind. The book says, I'll just quickly tell you what it means. What it means is that we essentially believe that our thinking is skull bound. We only think with our brain. If I ask you a question, where does our mind end? Where does our body begin? Our mind doesn't end with a skull. We learn from our surrounding, we learn from our friends, we learn from the nature. So you must read a book called The Extended Mind. Second book I think you must read is a book which I think is everybody's Bible, Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow. I'm sure many of you have read it. It's a life-changing book. You must read that book. Third book you must read is a book called The Invisible Gorilla. The book talks about inattention blindness, which we surgeons have. We have an illusion of belief. We think that we know everything, but we miss a lot. The fourth book I recommend to you is called Moonwalking with Einstein. It's a book which talks about how to improve your memory. And fifth book, I'm probably going too fast, is a book which is written by Duncan Watts. It's called Everything is True Once You Know the Answer. It talks about common sense. There's a book called Super Forecasters. There's a book called How Not to Be Wrong. So there are so many books. And if you read those books, you realize the basic thing all these books teach you is one thing. Learn to get out of your beliefs. Our beliefs are basically hypotheses. They are not treasures to be guarded. We live with our beliefs, our thoughts. We believe what we think is correct. There's a parallel reality to it which we refuse to accept. Our surgeons, the biggest problem with us is a confirmation bias. We believe if I say laparoscopy is the best, it's the best. That's why we don't progress. We need to understand that the frenzied pursuit for our thing is not correct. Like me and Puneet discuss, his point of view is right, my point of view is right. Life is duality. Life is not yes and no. Life is yes or no. Life is yes and yes. If I say 2-layer anastomosis is good, you do 1 layer, you are also right, I am also right. The purpose of a debate is not victory. It's clarity. Once you understand that, you don't have to win every argument. This is the biggest mistake. We want to be proven right. I want to be proven wrong because most learning comes from questions, not answers. Once you learn to ask the right questions, answers will come automatically. I don't want to sound like a guru, but I have made these mistakes. I had fixed ideas, so I could not learn. Now, if you ask me something, I will say, it's possible. It's possible, but I don't know about it. I hope I've conveyed what I'm saying. So humility is the most important thing. Once you become intellectually humble, life becomes easy. The problem with most of us is we take ourselves too seriously. We have to take our job seriously, right? The day you stop seeking external validity, that I want to be liked by everybody, that's a big problem. I don't want to sound like a motivational guru. I'm just saying the mistakes I have made. By the way, do you know where does the word guru come from? The word guru comes from good at understanding but relatively useless. Guru. Good at understanding but relatively useless. So you can understand me, but I'm useless. You have to discover your own truths.
I I think that's a very profound statement, and it probably sums up your entire talk today. A good message to end today with. Thank you so much for sparing your time to be with us and responding to every type of question. Uh, Pleasant, unpleasant, intellectual, not so intellectual. We hope to see you again on Marvelous Medicine at some future occasion. Thank you, Dr. Nandi, Dr. Puneet, and Dr. Piyush, and many others who take time to join, and for our, as ever, interactive audience. We'll meet again next week with another episode of Marvelous Medicine. Till then, take care and stay safe.